not what you think I am.
What's up guys, Joce here and welcome back to Beyond the Screen. Unless you're living under a rock, you've probably seen the hype about the Marvel Universe expanding once again this upcoming March. The newest Captain Marvel movie is almost here and we are all so thrilled we can hardly contain it. After the teaser dropped at this year's Super Bowl, it had Marvel fans losing their marbles. I can only imagine how this box office will explode when this movie hits theaters on March 6th. All I know is they've got a ticket for me. But before you run out and buy your tickets, there are 10 top things you need to know before seeing Captain Marvel. Make sure you guys subscribe to this channel. We are almost at 10,000 subscribers. So the first important thing you need to know is who Captain Marvel is. Who is she? This is a tricky one to answer, seeing as there have always been several characters called Captain Marvel throughout the years. But this time around, Captain Marvel can also be known as Carol Danvers. Off screen though, she's an Oscar-winning actress known as Brie Larson. She's only 28 years old and will be taking on this iconic role. Her casting for the role was confirmed at the San Diego Comic-Con in 2016 after years of speculation following the project's announcement in 2014. One thing you should know about the new Captain is that she trained really hard for this movie. To get herself physically ready for the role, she trained for 2 to 4 hours 5 days a week through a combination of boxing, kickboxing, judo, and wrestling. Rumor has it that by the end of the training, she was lifting 225 pounds in deadlifts and pulling an actual Jeep down the road. You go girl. I cannot wait to see her powers unfold on the big screen. Another thing you need to know about our new Captain Marvel is that she wasn't always a captain. Although there have been a whole string of Captain Marvels before her, the character Carol Danvers has been around since the 1960s, but first appeared as a military officer working alongside the original Captain Marvel. She used to be a pilot in the US Air Force and also worked as a security officer on a military base. Based on some of the images floating around the internet, it looks like that's definitely going to be explored in the movie. Brie Larson looks like one tough cookie in that military uniform. Heading to number 8, I think it's important to know who created this Marvel. We could sit here and gush about the new superhero, but without the creator, we wouldn't have anything to talk about. She was created by writer Roy Thomas and artist Gene Colan, and made her first debut in the pages of Marvel Comics in March 1968. That is when her story as a military-based officer was first told. But after the explosion that caused her DNA to fuse, she resurfaced as Miss Marvel in a self-titled series written by Jean Conway. Over the years, she would show up in stories featuring the Avengers and the Defenders, but also had run-ins with Spider-Man and X-Men. But it wasn't until 2012 when writer Kelly Sue DeConnick and artist Dexter Soy took over the title, which finally granted her the name Captain Marvel. Sounds like this character has been through the ropes since 1968. I can't wait to see what she'll do in 2019. I think number 7 is an obvious one. Before watching this iconic movie, you gotta know about the original comics. You don't have to be comic obsessed, nor do you have to necessarily read all of them, but you gotta know how this movie is coming to life. If you are looking to get a good read in before you watch the movie, here's the top few comic books that will get you all the details you need to know. Captain Marvel, In Pursuit of Flight, A-Force, and The Life of Captain Marvel. There's still time to catch up on all the adventures of Captain Marvel in the comics. I'm sure there have been some tweaks since the first 1968 comic, which has left people wondering if any of the comic series characters will make it into the movie. Guess we'll find out. Which leads us to number 6. Tons of people are wondering what the movie will draw from. Because of the mass variety of comics and stories over the years, what will this movie focus on? While the actual plot specifics aren't fully confirmed, it seems to draw heavily from a couple of sources. Captain Marvel's look and attitude in the film draw from DeConnick's work back in 2012. Not only her look, but also her cat, which has gotten plenty of attention online. The cat is known in the comics as Chewie. In the movie, he's apparently called Goose and is cute by the looks of it. The film's storyline also explores parts of her original story, leading all the way back to her part with Kree Starforce, where she had her powers put in place from the DNA fusion. All we know is, in the upcoming movie, she'll somehow return to Earth to explore her past and battle the evil Skrulls. Now you're probably wondering what Skrulls are if you haven't been on the internet lately, which brings me to number 5. You need to know that this movie involves aliens called Skrulls, and you can get your first glimpse of them online. Towards the beginning of September, Entertainment Weekly released the first official photos. Lots of conversation began after the reveal of the alien race, which will play a central role in the new movie. In addition to pointy ears and green skin, these bad guys also have some very dramatic coats and apparently love walking on the beach together. How romantic. So, why are there aliens in this movie? That's weird, right? Not really, because Captain Marvel herself has alien DNA. She was once a regular human, but during an explosion, her DNA was fused with the original Captain Marvel at the time, who was known as Kree. The alien DNA is what gives her awesome powers like superhuman strength and flight. Being an alien doesn't sound all that bad. Alright, so we know we're gonna see some pretty sick flight scenes when it comes to superpowers and bad guys. One thing you guys should know before seeing the movie is that the cast actually flew in real fighter planes. It doesn't get more legit than that, am I right? Not only did they bring in real planes, but they were trained by actual Air Force pilots. Larson spent time with General Jeannie M. Leavitt, who is the United States Air Force first female pilot. How cool is that? She was also the first woman to command a combat fighter wing. No big deal. To make the flying scenes as authentic as possible, they even had some once-in-a-lifetime training at the Nellis Air Force Base in Las Vegas. Rumor has it they were barrel rolling in fighter planes and everything, so you don't have to worry about this movie having cheesy effects and flaky flight scenes. It'll be legit, and I'm pumped. So with all these crazy flight scenes, aliens, superpowers, and cats, what setting is this movie even taking place? Before you head to theaters to see it, you need to know that this movie actually takes place in the 90s. The set is in 1995 to be exact. Civilians in the Marvel Cinematic Universe are probably pretty used to spiders swinging through the streets or giant alien portals opening over Manhattan. But this Captain Marvel has her own story, and when she suits up, she's doing it in a world where there are no Avengers, or really any other superheroes at all. Executive producer Jonathan Schwartz explains, "It gives Carol a place in the cinematic universe that she can carve out for her own, where she wasn't one superhero out of many. This 90s setting is a chance to explore what a Marvel story looks like in a post-Cold War America. Movies set in old time usually isn't my thing, but when it involves Captain Marvel, I'm all for it." And here we are at number 2. There has been lots of controversy online about people wondering how our new Captain Marvel will fit into the new Avengers Endgame movie. Captain Marvel will be out March 8 of this year, and Avengers Endgame follows on April 26th. It has people wondering how the character and the story will fit into the Endgame. None of us have superpowers that tell the future, so all we know is that Nick Fury, who appears as a younger man, paged Carol Danvers at the end of Infinity War just before he was dusted out of existence. So we can assume that Danvers' powers could be useful in the future Avengers film, but we won't know until we see it. Larson has said that she interacted with many of these characters on set, so she clearly has a lot to do with this story. But we're gonna have to stay tuned and see what happens. Don't worry though guys, the final thing you need to know is that you're going to see some familiar faces in this one, and that's something to get excited about. While it's unclear how exactly Captain Marvel will tie into the larger plot of Avengers, don't rule out some guest appearances in this one. Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury will appear in the film alongside the S.H.I.E.L.D. staple Agent Phil Coulson, but since it's placed in the 90s setting, expect to see them with some weird anti-aging makeup we all know and love. In addition to the S.H.I.E.L.D. actors, there will also be some familiar faces from the Guardians of the Galaxy. Characters Ronan and Korath will also have parts in this movie. Why those two exactly? They are both members of the alien species known as the Kree Empire. Duh, cause this movie needs more aliens apparently. It's also been reported that we could see a feature cameo appearance from the late Stan Lee, who passed away last November at the age of 95. What a special cameo that would be. Let's see if the Secret Source reporter was telling the truth. Thanks for hanging out with me you guys, I'll see you next time.